We all know Jack Della Maddalena is a killer inside the cage, but what he did at UFC 315, that was something else. He didn't just win, he made a statement. He walked into the Bell Center in Montreal, stared down Belal Muhammad, and walked out as the new UFC welterweight champion. Jack wasn't supposed to make it look this good. Belal's known for his wrestling, his pressure, his gas tank. But none of that scared Jack. He came in calm, sharp, and absolutely dangerous. For 4 rounds, Belal couldn't even land a clean takedown. And on the feet, Jack landed over 200 strikes. Yeah, 200. Let that sink in. It was a war 5 full rounds of high-level violence. And in the end, the judges gave it to Jack. 2 scores of 48-47 and 149-46. A clean win. And just like that, Australia has another UFC champion. But Jack wasn't done. After the fight, he called out Islam Makhachev. Yep, the lightweight champ, the pound-for-pound #1. Jack said, I think it's a beautiful challenge. I'm going to get him back for Volk. He's talking about Alexander Volkanovski, Jack's fellow Aussie, who lost twice to Islam. Jack wants revenge, and honestly, after what we just saw, I wouldn't count him out. Round 1. Right from the start, Jack pushed forward. He used his jab, mixed in kicks, and looked sharp. Belal tried a takedown late in the round, but Jack stuffed it. They traded some big shots, and Jack even landed a huge uppercut. That round, all Jack. Round 2, Belal came out busier this time. He landed a few good shots and even threw some body kicks. But Jack stayed patient. He kept landing clean punches. His takedown defense, still perfect. It was close, but Jack edged it out again. Round 3, Jack started strong with low kicks and quick jabs. Belal was landing too, but Jack's strikes were cleaner, harder. Belal went for a takedown again, but Jack flipped the script. He went for one himself in the final seconds. It was wild. Round 4, Belal finally got a little success with his wrestling, taking Jack to a knee. But Jack stayed calm, defended well, and got back up. On the feet, Jack was still landing the harder shots. Belal had volume, but Jack had damage. Round 5. Now this round was chaos. Belal came forward non-stop. He got Jack to the ground and did some solid work. But Jack wasn't done. He got back up, landed a huge elbow, then another. He tried to finish the fight, but Belal just wouldn't go away. It ended with both men swinging. No backing down. Just heart. Jack Della Maddalena showed everyone that he's the real deal. And if he gets that shot at Islam Makhachev, well, we might just be watching another Aussie shock the world. What do you think, guys? Share your thoughts in the comment section.
There's some rumours. There was rumours that it was going to be Khamzat DDP. Turns out that doesn't look like it's true. There's now rumours it's going to be Topuria versus Islam. Is that a
Well, we all know that fight's happening. The Duplessis versus Khamzat fight. It's happening. It's just not happening in the international fight week. That fight's done. Just not happening now.
And Ilya is...
By now you've probably heard the whispers, the rumours, and the endless fan speculation, but this time, it's official. Dana White has finally confirmed that Khamzat Chimaev will challenge Dricus Duplessis for the UFC middleweight championship. The announcement came after UFC Kansas, where Dana made it clear that the fight is happening. Not during International Fight Week, but it's signed, sealed, and coming soon. Let's talk about why this fight matters so much. Khamzat Chimaev is 14-0 and has torn through the UFC with a level of dominance we rarely see. He out-wrestled Kamaru Usman, finished Robert Whittaker in the first round, and made a name for himself as one of the most dangerous contenders in the division. His relentless pressure, elite grappling, and ability to end fights quickly have turned him into a fan favourite, and a betting favourite too. Odds makers already have him as the early pick to win this fight. But Dricus Duplessis is not just some stepping stone. He's the reigning champion for a reason. The South African wrecking machine holds wins over Israel Adesanya, Sean Strickland, twice, Robert Whittaker, and Derek Brunson. His fighting style may look awkward at times, but it's brutally effective. Duplessis brings serious knockout power, cardio, and a pace that breaks his opponents down. He recently teased the matchup on Instagram with a simple caption that said it all: "It's time." Even Duplessis' coach, Visser, confirmed that the fight is on. He shut down injury rumors and said they're just waiting for the contract. According to him, they're not fighting during International Fight Week because the UFC has other plans for that event. But beyond that, it's a done deal. Dricus is fighting Khamzat. Now let's get into what really makes this fight so intriguing. Both fighters bring very different weapons to the cage. Chimaev is a grappling machine with relentless wrestling, while Du Plessis is a physical force with unorthodox but powerful striking. This is a true clash of styles, and fans are already debating how their skill sets will stack up against each other. When it comes to grappling, Khamzat is on another level. He averages over 4 takedowns per 15 minutes with 46% accuracy, and has a perfect 100% takedown defense in the UFC. On the ground, he's a nightmare. He transitions fast, looks for submissions constantly, and is particularly dangerous with his Darcy choke. Against elite fighters like Usman and Kevin Holland, Chimaev didn't just win, he dominated. His ability to chain wrestling into immediate submission threats is something few in the division can handle. But don't sleep on Du Plessis' ground game. He's one of the strongest guys at 185 pounds and has underrated grappling. He averages 2.55 takedowns per 15 minutes at 50% accuracy and has a dangerous guillotine choke. However, his takedown defense sits at just 50%, and that could be a red flag against someone like Chimaev. In the past, he's been outgrappled by strong wrestlers like Derek Brunson, but his raw physicality and ability to scramble make him tough to control or submit. The key here is how their styles collide. Can Khamzat impose his pressure and dominate on the mat like he always does? Or will Du Plessis use his strength and awkward style to frustrate Chimaev and land big shots on the feet? This isn't just a striker versus grappler matchup. It's a test of who can push their style harder when everything is on the line. Khamzat has been expected to fight for a title for years. Back in 2020, he racked up 3 wins in 2 months and looked like an unstoppable force. But injuries and setbacks slowed his rise. Now, at 30 years old, he finally gets his chance to claim UFC gold. Meanwhile, Du Plessis, now 31, is looking for his 3rd straight title defense, with a 9-fight UFC win streak under his belt. He's already taken out the division's elite and wants to silence anyone who still doubts him. This fight is going to be violent, unpredictable, and absolutely must-see. We don't have a date yet, but the fight is happening. When these two step inside the octagon, it's going to be chaos. Wrestling versus power, pressure versus grit, undefeated contender versus battle-tested champion. Someone's streak is ending, and history is about to be made.
Dricus Du Plessis the man. It looks like it's going to be very difficult to get the belt off of him. He still has work to do at middleweight. Khamzat Chimaev being problem number 1. But watching Dricus today, I don't know that Chimaev just drives across the mat and takes him down. He's so good at what he does. I know Chimaev has a massive following and people like him. He's been dominant. I just don't know that he has ever seen anyone like Du Plessis. How do you train for him? Who can you bring in that does the things that Du Plessis does? Du Plessis throws punches and kicks at the same time, and it works. He's a puzzle that has not been solved in the UFC. It's going to be very difficult to get the belt off.
Jon Bones Jones just dropped a bomb on Instagram. And no, it's not another training clip, it's a message. A message to fans, fighters, and the UFC brass. And it's loud and clear. Jon shared a look at his legendary fight poster wall, a collection of wars, titles, and moments that shaped modern MMA. But one thing stood out. There's one last spot left, and it's not for Stipe. Not yet. The wall's almost filled, but trust me, the story's still being written. The best is yet to come. Yeah, that's straight from the champ himself. And when Jon Jones speaks like that, you listen. Because after 16 years of dominance, controversy, and evolution, Jones is clearly planning one more epic chapter. And all signs? They point to Tom Aspinall. Jon Jones, the reigning UFC heavyweight champion, and Tom Aspinall, the interim title holder, have been circling each other for months. After Jones's successful title defense against Stipe Miocic at UFC 309, fans expected the next logical step would be a unification bout with Aspinall. Yet, as summer 2025 approaches, there's still no official date, and talks appear to have stalled. UFC President Dana White has tried to reassure fans, repeatedly stating that the fight is done but not quite finalized, and that it's just a matter of getting contracts signed. White even called it the biggest fight in heavyweight history, promising it will happen this year. But behind the scenes, both camps have expressed optimism and uncertainty, with Aspinall's team growing frustrated at the lack of progress. So why hasn't this blockbuster fight been announced? There are several factors at play. Colby Covington claimed that Jones is holding out for a massive payday, demanding "fucks you" money from the UFC to risk his legacy against Aspinall. With Jones at the tail end of his career, he wants to maximize his earnings for what could be his final appearance. According to MMA legend Chael Sonnen, Jones's biggest worry may not be Aspinall's skills, but what happens if he loses. Sonnen speculates that Jones is concerned the UFC won't guarantee him an immediate rematch if Aspinall dethrones him, leaving his future uncertain as a non-champion at age 36. This potential lack of leverage could be making Jones hesitant to sign. And then there's the resume question. Jones himself has downplayed Aspinall's credentials, suggesting the Brit hasn't built a big enough name or resume to truly interest him, despite Aspinall's dominant run and interim title defenses. Jones even floated the idea of fighting Alex Pereira instead, a move that didn't sit well with fans who see Aspinall as the rightful next challenger. Despite all this, Aspinall isn't backing down. He's been calling for this showdown for months. He holds the interim belt. He's young, explosive, lightning fast for a heavyweight, and he wants Jones bad. But here's where things get even messier. Despite the buzz, behind-the-scenes whispers suggest the UFC might shift gears and give Aspinall to Cyril Gane at UFC 317 instead. That's right. Some say Aspinall is being convinced to defend his interim title against Gane because Jones's timeline is still unclear. And the fans? They're getting restless. But Jones isn't done. Not yet. His Instagram post wasn't just nostalgia, it was a promise. A statement that he's not walking away until that final fight poster goes up on the wall. And it has to be something worthy, something legendary. Because let's be real, Jon Jones isn't framing a win over just anyone. He wants the biggest name, the biggest moment. And right now, that moment is Tom Aspinall. This fight is more than just a title unification. It's a passing of the torch, a clash of generations, old-school brilliance versus new-age firepower. And it could be the final time we see Jon Jones in the octagon. For the fans who've ridden this wild journey with Jones, the highs, the scandals, the comebacks, this is personal. Whether you love him or hate him, you care. Because you know you're watching history. So the question isn't if Jon Jones will return, it's when, and who will be standing across from him when he writes the last line of a legendary legacy. Let me know in the comments. Do you think the UFC should wait for Jones versus Aspinall? Or is it time to move on? And remember, until that last post is framed, the story's still being written.
Do you believe you can beat Islam? Es que cuántas veces ya. Claro que sí. Claro que sí. Makhachev male აუცილებლად. იმედია ამ ჩხუბის მერე. იმედია ამ ჩხუბის მერე.
By now, we all know Ilia Topuria as the undefeated UFC featherweight champion, the man who took over the division and isn't shy about calling people out. But lately, there's one name that keeps coming out of his mouth: Islam Makhachev. Yeah, that Islam Makhachev, the lightweight king. And if you've been paying attention, you'll know this beef has been simmering for a while now. But recently, it's heating up. Topuria has been pushing hard for a lightweight title shot. He wants to fight Islam. But here's the thing, Islam, he's not that interested.
In a hypothetical fight against Islam, how do you see that fight going? If it goes to the ground, do you feel confident that you could out-grapple him, or would you try to keep it standing? And
My mindset is always the same. I'm always looking to achieve things that no one could. So someone could submit him. I will be the first one to submit him. And
any specific submission?
Now I heard some love from some idiot, but it's gonna happen.
And then Khabib Nurmagomedov stepped in. See, Khabib, who's not just Islam's longtime friend, but also someone who knows the fight game inside and out, made it clear. He said Islam has already taken on 2 featherweight champions before, beat them both. So why should he give a third one a shot, especially when that fighter hasn't even proven himself at 155? Khabib kept it real in an interview. He said, if Topuria comes up, gets a title shot, and loses, then fights again at lightweight and loses again. What does that say? It makes him look like a nobody in that division. That doesn't help Islam's legacy. That's why we want him to face real contenders, guys like Arman Tsarukyan.
И он дрался, и он даже дрался с чемпионом 66, летел к нему. Он сам на то, да, в Австралию полетел, у него там на заднем дворе подрался. Команда, мы считаем, что Topuria, он достойный боец. Но он чемпион, защитил пояс, выиграл очень серьезных ребят. Но эти все ребята, которые были в 66, даже тот же самый Холловый, которого он выиграл, он перешел на 70, он ничего не сделал. Из-за этого нам нужно, чтобы Исламу тоже немного осталось. Если так посмотреть, Исламу скоро 34 будет. Но Ислам тоже хочет драться не с Topuria и с Volkanovski, или который вышел на замену с Майканом. Ислам хочет драться с большими именами, которые заслуживают, которые давно уже в 70 килограмм. Ты переходишь вес, заслужи, и у нас примерно вот такая позиция.
Now Ilya, he didn't take that lightly. He jumped on X, Twitter, clapped back at Khabib and said, Khabib knows I'm the one to take the belt from Islam. Only reason he doesn't want Islam to fight me. And it didn't stop there. Earlier this year, right after UFC 311, Topuria tweeted directly at Islam, if I want to, I can finish you. If I want to, I can knock you out. I'll make it look easy. See you soon. Bold words. Real bold. But there's more to this story. Chael Sonnen, who never holds back, weighed in too. On ESPN's Good Guy, Bad Guy, he said he doesn't believe Islam is scared. In fact, he thinks Islam would be insulted to even be asked to fight another featherweight. Chael said, Islam took fights on short notice. He's a real fighter. He's not ducking anyone. But asking him to defend against another 45er, that's a slap in the face. Even Islam's manager, Rizvan Magomedov, chimed in, saying if Topuria wants that fight, he should go through someone like Dustin Poirier or Charles Oliveira first, prove he belongs at lightweight. And let's not forget UFC CEO Dana White. He hasn't promised anything. He said maybe Makhachev versus Topuria could happen at International Fight Week, but that's still up in the air. So where does that leave us? We've got Topuria, hungry, undefeated, and calling for the biggest fight of his life. We've got Islam, the champ, staying focused and being picky about what fights actually matter for his legacy. And we've got Khabib, the legend, standing guard over Islam's path. Will the UFC make it happen? Or will Topuria be forced to prove himself first? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, this story is far from over.
Makhachev, legacy matters. And Khabib went into that, right? He goes, Islam will fight anybody. Islam himself said, I'll fight anybody. But he doesn't have much time left. If you think about it, Khabib said, Islam will be 34 soon. So Islam doesn't want to fight Topuria or Volkanovski or someone stepping in on short notice like Renato Moicano. He wants to fight the big names who really deserve it. Guys who have been at 155 for a long time. We have nothing personal against Ilya. But if you're moving up a weight class, earn it. That's more or less our stance. That's Khabib. That there is as telling as anything you'll hear from anyone, because that is Team Islam saying